Hello, this is Madge. Welcome to my tutorial for 2 Point Hospital, the spiritual sequel to Theme Hospital. A game I had a lot of fun with when I was a little girl, absolutely loved it. And I really wasn't expecting that about 20 years later we would have 2 Point Hospital as a sequel here, so that was fantastic. 2 Point Hospital gets my Game of the Year award for 2018. Because I did spend an awful lot of time on it. It's just one of those games where you never want to put it down. So I'm going to walk you through a sandbox level. People who have played Theme Hospital more or less know what they're getting into, but it's still helpful to walk you through things. Yep, it's the good old reception desk. Everyone knows where to start there. And then we're on to the hire button because we're going to need some staff. Assistants man the desks, and they have various qualifications here, as you can see. Motivation means they walk faster. Customer service means they deal with customers at the desk a little bit faster. And emotional intelligence improves their general mood. So he's got a good set of qualifications, and they've also got their own little personality quirks, some of which can be very negative, some of which can be quite positive, and some of them are just neutral flavour. So it's always a good thing if they've got a nice positive attribute. And I like my assistants to be fairly cheap, so I'm going to hire this guy.
Staff are reminded to feel relaxed.
Hit the space bar if you want to pause the game at any point, and you can fully rotate and zoom out the view, unlike in old Theme Hospital. Isn't it fantastic? Look at this damn camera. I can move the camera at long last. I'm also going to hire a janitor. This guy's unhygienic, which is definitely not a good trait in your janitor. You generally want your janitors to make things clean, not unclean. So I'm going to hire this guy, especially since he has mechanics, and you always need one janitor with mechanics because these guys know how to upgrade your machines, and you will need to one guy who specialises in mechanic on the staff. Otherwise, maintenance is a very good one. That stops your machines from blowing up. And ghost capture captures dead ghosts, which we'll be seeing a lot of later. I'll definitely need some janitors to be going on with. Let's see, if it wasn't for his being unhygienic, I would hire him because his qualifications are very good. But for now, I'll overlook him. I've got some surgeons to hire, but I'm not sure that I will because I'm not ready for a surgery yet, and they're kind of expensive. So I'm going to hire this doctor. This girl might be quite useful. Yeah. And of course now we're going to have to build a GP's office, so into the Rooms tab, select a GP. Minimum size of 3x3, but I'm probably going to make it just a little bit bigger. Obligatory filing cabinet. And what you also want to stuff your GPs with are these medicine cabinets, because they give you a bonus to both diagnosis power and treatment, but it's that diagnosis you want in the GP, and there's pretty much no other object that will actually improve diagnosis power in the GP, so just spam medicine cabinets. Well worth it, because your GPs will be visited multiple times by a patient in their visit to the hospital. They'll start at the GP, go to diagnosis, return to the GP, and so if you get your GPs decked out with good stuff, it's well worth it. It's the most important room in the hospital, basically, the GP. So Put down a radiator so they don't get cold. And I'm also going to put in a drinks machine and candy machine. In fact, I might swap that one out for the hot chocolate maker that I happen to have. I have all items unlocked because I've already played the game through to completion. So you'll be more sparse when you start out in your decorative items, but you'll get them all eventually through playing. So next room, oops, my mistake there. It's going to be general diagnosis, everyone's favourite. Again, you can spam it full of medicine cabinets if you like, they're quite useful for this room too. And don't forget the fire extinguisher because this one can go on fire. Now, unlike in Theme Hospital where you had to have your fire extinguishers in the room, you can actually put your fire extinguishers out in the corridor. And if there's a fire in your machines, then your janitors here will quickly go grab a fire extinguisher from anywhere and then put out the fire, and that uses up the fire extinguisher, so they're not reusable. You have to remember to put a replacement down after that happens. So there you go, plenty of fire extinguishers there. Gonna unpause, let's see if some patients turn up. Now, Theme Hospital players might be thinking, oh well, it's the pharmacy next, isn't it? Not quite actually. There's been some changes to how the ward works. Wards are now super useful because they both do diagnosis and treatment. I think they might have done it in the original game, but in any case, they treat a lot more things than they did previously. So basically the ward is going to be a double duty room, which means essentially double your money. Screens are important. They tend to queue up for screens, so worth having 2 of them. Their routing is still quite poor, you'll still get enormous queues, but regardless. Stick a radiator in there.
Staff are reminded to wear the clothes assigned to them.
So I now have 2 diagnosis rooms and technically 1 treatment room as well because the ward does both. And I am going to build a pharmacy.
On 2 Point Radio.
This is Ricky Hawthorne, bringing talk, music and news to the whole of 2 Point County. And if you're listening to us from the newly opened hospital, just turn up that volume, because nothing drowns out the sound of sick people like the voice of a world-class DJ. Coming up next, 42 hours of music from the background band. Enjoy!
And we have DJs in this game. Yes, this guy actually has the pharmacy qualification. You don't need the pharmacy qualification to work in the pharmacy, but it does improve their skill there. I generally prefer to go for the generic treatment qualification rather than things like injection room and pharmacy, because they aren't strictly necessary and treatment covers both. So in a way that's a waste of a skill slot, but you know what, a little additional help in pharmacy will not hurt there. Now I'm going to make sure that my patients don't starve to death while they're in my hospital. Always helps. So I'm putting down a drink machine and a snack machine, as well as some bins for them to put the waste into. Hand sanitizers help everyone stay hygienic. Generally not really necessary. you will find occasionally you've got a hospital that for one reason or another has a hygiene problem, and that's when you want to spam hand sanitizers everywhere. No one's going to be surprised, next on the list is actually staff amenities. They're going to need somewhere to rest. Staff rooms can be really small, as little as 2 by 3. I'm going to be a little more generous than that though. You can also make your rooms non-square if you prefer. You can do whatever strange shape you like. Like so. I like to make sure that my staff room is stocked with food and snacks. Just they've got them right there, don't have to go wandering. The toxic waste bin, which you won't have unlocked at first, but you will unlock later, is a good choice for inside rooms because it doesn't have any environmental impact. When a big bin is full, it creates an aura of dirt around it, which decreases hospital attractiveness. The toxic waste bin doesn't hold much rubbish, but it has the big advantage that it won't make your hospital smelly.
You know, I've been humming that tune to myself all week, which is uncanny because I've never heard it before. Or have I? Oh well, more catchy music coming right up.
I'm a big fan of rugs. They're a good way to increase a room's attractiveness. And if you are worried about your room's attractiveness for any reason, the Gold Star Award is absolutely by far the best item to use. Just spam it everywhere, spam it behind objects, and increase your room prestige that easily. So this is now a level 4 room. Staff rooms are good to bling out. If you're going to make any room level 4, level 5, make it the staff room, because when your staff come here and they're in an excellent room, it makes them restore their energy much faster. You can even put a massive Christmas tree in here if you like. Come on, I want to put my Christmas tree in. Damn it, not quite enough room. We have an emergency. For a fracture ward. Well, I've got plenty of money and I believe in living dangerously, so I'm going to pause the game and build a fracture ward so I can handle that emergency. I believe it said 7 patients. That should be more than adequate. I like to have 2 plastic caster machines. There we go. And I really could do with another nurse. Oh dear, this one's got some terrible traits. Unhygienic and gross. Oh, that's no good. And this one's quite bad as well. Oh, I should grab this doctor because they've got the research qualification. That's going to come in very handy. My nurses, though, here are a bit of a lost cause. may have to get this one and hope for the best. I can always fire them later once the emergency's over. So I've clicked on the fracture room door here, which is important because I want to assign 2 nurses. Fracture ward is staffed by a nurse. It will cure various kinds of diseases where the bones are broken. And it's best staffed by at least 2 nurses with 2 plaster casters, just for the extra efficiency. And if you want, you can also set a room to high priority by clicking on this button here. And because I've got emergency patients coming in, obviously I'm going to make this room high priority. That makes sense. You can also get to the specific items appropriate to this room by clicking on that button. Can I squeeze a wall monitor in here? Unfortunately, no. Never mind. And the edit room button is here, which allows you to modify the shape of the room, position of the doors. Quite happy with how it is there. And you can also copy rooms, incidentally. Very useful for when you're usually replicating your GPs is what you want to do. So there you go, I've got a copy of my GP. Can just plonk down a second one, and you will be needing a lot of GP rooms. At the moment though, we're just starting out. So that's fracture ward built and staffed, and there should be some emergency patients showing up before long. They usually show up at the helipad, so if you are going to build a treatment room for emergencies, close to the helipad is a good idea. Just means that they don't waste any time walking to where they need to be. Crossbones. Skeletal rage, sometimes triggered by piracy, requires a fracture ward. I'm going to put food and drinks here because I don't want them to go wandering off all the way around the hospital, which is what they tend to do otherwise. Your patients will also need some form of entertainment. Oh wait, I forgot, this map is set to temperate. Oh well. That means I won't actually be needing the radiators I've been putting down around the place, but that's a habit because most of the maps are cold, but for whatever reason this is actually a map that doesn't require radiators, so I have to go around and delete these. You also get maps where the temperature is too high, and instead of radiators, for such maps you're going to use the air conditioning unit, which is right here. And you can see that's instantly brought down the temperature. We have a pharmacy disease that's been discovered, so they'll be off to the pharmacy. While I go around to delete my apparently superfluous radiators. And there's a ward disease.
Patients are reminded not to think about it.
I need to build some toilets. I'm just judging where's the best place for them. You can imagine what happens if you don't have toilets in your hospital.
In the news today, conditions at the Rotting Hill Hospital are getting worse every day. Apparently, patients are just as likely to die from sinkholes and crumbling ceilings as any diseases. At least that'll keep the queues down.
Bleh. Don't like litterers because they make your hospital dirty. This guy's cheap, so we'll do better. We require a psychiatry, but we don't have one yet. Nor do we have a psychiatrist. We've had a staff challenge. Have you considered promoting some of our staff? Promote 3 staff. We shall accept that because hopefully we will be promoting staff before too long. Oh dear, one of our emergency patients has died. Unfortunate. While we're waiting for the emergency to sort itself out, we should indeed build a training suite. And then we might be able to get a nice psychiatrist or 2, because at the moment there's none for hire.
In the event of an epidemic, please try not to panic.
Fighting the urge to put radiators down. Where's the anatomy poster? This is very handy. It has a bonus to training speed, +1. So, yep, spam the walls with it. No reason not to. There we go. Let's review my staff. So if you click on this tab with the little person, you can see all your patients in the hospital, which illnesses you've discovered, and your staff members. And I want to look at my doctors and see what skills they've got. So I have a researcher and 2 who are basically serving as GPs, but so 3 doctors. No, he's no good. He's a litterer, so dismissed. Go away. And 2 researchers in there, so our emergency went well. We managed to cure 4 out of 7. Considering we have pretty much untrained staff working, that's not too bad. It is very important to develop your staff and give them more qualifications, which is what we're going to do here.
What a smashing day for a bit of gardening. I mean, who doesn't like gardening? Digging up a bit of soil, sticking your hands in a bit of manure. Oh, I can almost smell it now. No, wait, the sewage pipes burst again. No, my mistake. Anyway, keep those fingers green.
Thank you for the interruption, Mr. Hawthorne. Here we are in training. So I've selected psychiatry as a course. I only have 1 trainer available, which is the outside trainer, which I'll have to pay. However, if I had any staff who were already trained in psychiatry, they would appear here as trainers as well, and they will do it for free, which is brilliant. However, they will do it rather slower than your professional trainers. But unfortunately, I only have the choice of the professional trainer. And I've already selected which doctor I want to give psychiatry, so start training. As your doctors and nurses and other staff work in the hospital, they will slowly gain experience. This guy's is working towards having 3 empty slots here, so he would have a diagnostics qualification, GP qualification, and then a nice empty one with time, which I would then be able to send him for training, and say train him in psychiatry or general practice 2 would probably be a better choice. Once he gets up to, once he levels up, which he will do by working in any room.
Nurse to general diagnosis.
And since I have an idle doctor, I'm going to copy my GP room, because can never have too many GPs. So as a little mini hospital, this is looking quite good. Now the emergency is over, I'm going to remember to set the fracture ward back to middling priority because I don't want it drawing my nurses away from things like the pharmacy. My drug mixer is down to half strength, so I will summon a janitor by clicking on this button and ask them to repair it. I only have the one janitor, which is not really enough. Let's see if I can get someone else. This one will do 2. 3 is a much better number for a hospital this size. The easy scan is in good working order, so no need to intervene there. This guy's ready for training. He's got an empty slot. However, there isn't an empty training room for him.
Patients should wash their hands at all times.
And we're going to have a visitor. A rival executive is going to tour the hospital. And this particular guy likes to litter the hospital, dropping rubbish everywhere. He's one of my rivals, so not looking forward to that.
New to the Cheesy Gubbins family. That's too cheesy flavor. Who needs new ideas when you can have more cheese? More cheese? Cheesy Gubbins presents That's Too Cheesy. Dare you?
24 hours a day. This is 2 Point Radio.
So I'm looking at my janitor's qualifications here. I only have one with ghost capture. And when people start dying, you generally want more than the one with ghost capture. So I'm going to select this person, click on train, click on ghost capture. And rather than use the outside trainer, I'm going to save some money, select the other janitor who actually already knows this skill, and then start training. And now I'm going to buy a plot of land, which is quite simple. There's a few on offer. And I'm going to select this one. Yes, still need a psychiatry, I'm aware of that. I haven't built one yet. There's our special guest, dropping litter everywhere. I'm going to put some quality of life items down. This just keeps the patients from wandering off because they're bored or hungry or any of those things.
We're sorry for the litter that you dropped on our floor.
Can I hire some nurses? I'm short on nurses. So I'm looking at their qualifications and their traits. Not a brilliant selection there. Here we go. So because I want nurses and I'm not getting really enough of them, partly because my hospital level is very low. My hospital isn't very prestigious at the moment, which means I don't attract the best staff. And there is a way I can rectify that, and it's using marketing. So this is a good moment to demonstrate how marketing works. First going to bling up my room a bit. Nothing wrong with a bit of bling.
Doctor needed in GP's office.
There we go. So if you click on the marketing desk, you can launch various campaigns. So the general marketing boosts your reputation. My reputation is doing okay at the moment. You can also put out a marketing for a specific campaign, a specific disease. So instead of getting all of these psychiatry patients, which I can't actually cure because I don't have a psychiatry yet, I could instead put out a campaign for the ward, and that will skew the number of patients coming in so that more with ward diseases are turning up, which is very useful, like I said, if you want to not have psychiatry patients but do have people to come to your excellent ward instead. You can skew things that way. But the thing I'm interested in here is recruitment marketing, because I'm short of decent nurses. So I'm going to put out an advertising campaign for nurses. You can adjust the duration here, but I don't see any reason to do it more than, the minimum for most of the time. So there we go. And one thing I have to watch out for is I do need someone who actually has the marketing qualification. I need a clinic. I don't know if I actually have a deluxe clinic, so let me double check. No, I don't. I don't have a deluxe clinic, which means I'm going to have to build a research. I'll send that patient home for now. So let's have a look at my people here, and I do have someone who has marketing. Brilliant. So they are capable of using the marketing room. I'm going to put the priority as high, so the one dude who does have marketing knows to come in here and do his job. Otherwise he may well wander off and man reception instead. I've now made marketing high priority room. Before I forget, I need to build my psychiatry, because I do have a psychiatrist now. Psychiatry does double duty as a treatment room and a diagnosis room, so I consider it a very good value room in that respect. Does two jobs. Well worth having. I like to give my doctors something to eat and drink in the room with them. It means that they take breaks a little less frequently. Because if they've got the munchies, they just have to go get the sweets from the sweet dispenser. So like I said, psychiatry, it's a double purpose room, does both diagnosis and treatment, but if you feel that you just want your psychiatry to say do diagnosis, you can use these two buttons here. So I only have it set to diagnosis there, or I could set it just to treatment. And when you've got a large hospital with many psychiatries and many patients, this can be helpful if you just want to streamline the whole process. For now though, I'm quite happy having it working with basically doing the double duty there. No problem with that. So there's my working psychiatry. Should put down some snack machines here.
I went to a holistics nature commune last week to see what they could do about my gravy allergy. They recommended a long stay at their spa and a bottle of rosemary extract. It cost me a month's wages, but I'm finally starting to feel the effects. Still can't eat gravy though.
Patients arriving for the fracture ward.
So I'm now going to build research. I already have a research doctor, so I don't have to worry about getting someone qualified for it. Ah, good, we've got people to promote. So, it will automatically suggest a new salary for them. You can adjust it, like so, if you want to make them ludicrously happy, or not give them an increase at all, but I'm quite happy to go with the suggested there. So, promote. And having promoted those staff, they should now have an extra qualification slot, which means I can then train them in a new skill. It's important to develop your staff. And oh look, my charming VIP has gone and damaged one of my machines, so I'll call a janitor to come in and fix that. You want to watch out for Mr. McNally, because if he attacks a machine that's already in low health, he will actually explode the whole room. You've been warned. Keep an eye on him. Anyway, back to our research department. We need to click on this pod to start a research project. And what we need is a deluxe clinic, because we had a patient with lightheadedness turn up, but we don't have the clinic to treat them. So, start project. This is a room that can take extra staff, so I'm putting 2 slots in there, and I'm also setting it to high priority.
There's a film star stopping by.
We have one doctor with
In
research.
today's headlines, lottery winner Arthur Compass has announced winning the jackpot hasn't changed him one bit. He made this announcement floating over Krogenbush in his new gold-plated hovercraft, just like he's always done.
I was going to see if I could train him in Research 2, but then I remembered you actually have to unlock Research 2 through research, which is a kind of odd thing. That's something that confuses a lot of people. They're like, why can't I train my research doctor in research levels 2, 3 and 4? He's ready for training, he's got a free slot for training, and he's already got Research 1, so you want him to have Research 2. You actually have to research Research 2 before you can train in it, so don't ask me why. In any case, I could do with hiring a few more doctors. Ah, that's a shame. Litterer. Otherwise I could have had a 2-in-1 GP and psychiatrist there. I'm going to get another researcher, because I will be needing a fair few researchers for this map. And this guy. And let's have a look, see if our nurse situation is any better. Not really. No, let's just... Yeah, possibly we just need to get rid of all of these and let the slots open up, and then new applicants will arrive. Also another janitor. Just keep hiring janitors as your hospital expands. They're always useful, you can't really have too many of them. We need a deluxe clinic again, but we haven't got one researched yet. I'm going to have to just wait on that patiently. We have 2 researchers in the room, like I said. Remember, click on the door and you can use this to assign additional staff. Our VIP visit went well. My assistant wants training, but not now. Not now, because I'm actually looking at my doctors and thinking I need to train them. I think I want another psychiatrist. And I don't want to distract my current one, they're probably busy, so I'm going to use the outside trainer. Oh, an epidemic! Such fun! A contagious disease has been detected in the hospital. We've been issued a limited supply of vaccines, so it's up to us to vaccinate people displaying the telltale signs of the disease before it spreads. If you run out of vaccines or too many infected people escape, the 2-point county DC will step in and handle the epidemic. Abominable Curse is characterized by a peculiar walk. Disease spreads through a powerful and ancient sneeze. So there are 4 people infected and we have 20 vaccines. Now we can identify the infected by their mannerisms, and there's one right there. I'm going to zoom in and let you have a look. This is an infected patient. If you watch the way they walk, it's quite obvious. And if you click this button, you'll vaccinate them. Job done. Now, patients and staff can get infected, and that includes patients who might be on the way out the hospital, so I'm just going to double check that none of my escapees are doing the funny walk. Who let these people out? I've spotted a few more. That one. Oh yes, and I should say, sometimes you can't always select people if they're a VIP or an external trainer. They possibly can still get infected, and that's a problem because you can't actually select them and vaccinate them through the patient tab. So there is another way to do it, and not many people realise this, but you can click on this button here where it tells you about the epidemic to enter vaccination mode, and you'll see that my cursor has changed to a icon, and you can do that. Very simple. And then you can right click to cancel. So that's a very handy tip that not very many people know about, and it is useful for the very rare occasion where you're not actually able to select whoever it is who's infected. Like I said, VIPs and external trainers you cannot select that way, which means you have to use the alternative method. How many people infected? Just the one. Let's have a look. Now, if someone's sitting down, they don't give away if they're infected, which means when you're looking all around the hospital for the last infected person, usually your receptionist, because they just sit on their arse all day. He's clean, that's alright. Ah, good, research is done. We now have a deluxe clinic. You weren't able to promote 3 staff. We don't have that many staff, so it's not a great surprise. Anyway, as I was speaking of, I want to retrain a doctor in research 2, but I actually have to research 2 before I'm able to do that, so There we go. That's a common point of confusion with players. Why can't I further train my researchers? That's why. So I've set them on that task now. And meanwhile, I need to do the deluxe clinic. Very small clinic, this one. It's just 3x3. And don't forget your fire extinguisher. Worth having quite a few sitting around the hospital. Time to promote someone. Brilliant. So he now has an extra slot for training.
Attention! Would all visitors please talk silently?
Oh yes, that reminds me. I should set my ward to have extra nurses in it, because the ward is a nice efficient room. Oh look, there's the last remaining person. He was in the traction bed, which is why we couldn't spot him.
Thank you for your cooperation.
So now he's up and about. Vaccinate him. And that's the epidemic handled. So epidemics are a lot easier than they were in the original Theme Hospital game. As you can see, it's a fairly straightforward thing to do. So there you go, that's a very basic first hospital started. I believe we've covered everything we need to know to get started in the game. Oh yes, you can also upgrade your machines. You will have to research the upgrades themselves over in the research department, but this will improve your machine efficiency by upgrading them, and you will need a janitor who has the mechanics qualification before you're able to upgrade any machines, but that will significantly improve your machine's performance and usually their durability as well, I think, which is always a good thing. So that's it for my beginner's guide to 2 Point Hospital. You can leave any questions in the comments. I'll try to get to them whenever possible. And I hope you have lots of fun with the game. See you another time.